Welcome to one of the most important lectures of our project management series. Now, this bold statement of being one of the most important lectures is for the fact that this lecture will cover every or at least say almost all the formulae that you need to understand working with your project management examination. If you are the one who fear with numericals, or if you are the one who are quite choosy to learn the important topics to prepare fast for the exam, this is the lecture. We will not only go through the formulae, but also we will study in detail how to use these formulae in the real project life scenarios with examples. Without much delay, let's start on. Before moving on, I kindly request you to download the 2-pager quick exam refresher guide, which includes every formula, tips for numericals in the exam, and answers to the questions I have asked in this video to help you assess your knowledge on the topic. This is very important as you need to make sure whether you are ready enough to attend the exam. This is all for you as I want you to get confident enough out of every resources I provide. Please do not forget to download the cheat sheet through the link in the description. Moving on, let's start with the easiest one, and this formula is for the number of communication channels. Number of communication channels equals to n multiplied by n minus 1 divided by 2, where n is the sum of total members you are counting in a project or a project team. This formula is used to find the total number of communication channels. Suppose there are 5 stakeholders in a project. There was a need to add one more in the planning phase of the project. What will happen to the communication channel? Your options are total communication channels will be 6. Another option, total communication channels will be 15. Next option, total communication channels will be 10. Or the last one, total communication channels will be 9. I'll give you a hint. Since the new total number of stakeholders in the project is 6, as there is one more member in addition, you have to take the total members as 6. I will check your answers on this one in the comment box. You can check your answers through the quick exam preparation formula check sheet on page number 2. You can get that through the link in the description. Let me remind you some quick tips for exam for the communication channels. When you increase or decrease the team members by 1, your communication channel doesn't simply increase or decrease by 1. Second, with increase in communication channel, there arises risk in communication due to increase in ambiguity. We know that when there are 2 or more channels to communicate and we do not know whom to communicate, there is an ambiguity. And so there is a risk if there is no proper risk management strategy for communication. Another important topic is PERT estimation. Basically, while estimating the cost and schedule required in the project, you need to work with estimates like simple averaging and PERT estimates. PERT estimate gives you the most likely estimate. It is also called beta distribution or weighted average. So if in the exam, if you are given the terms other than the PERT estimate, please understand that they are referring to the beta distribution. It is considered better than simple average or triangular distribution as it reduces the chances of skewing the results by the effect of pessimistic or optimistic estimates. The formula is PERT estimation equals P plus 4M plus O divided by 6, where P is the pessimistic estimate, O is the optimistic estimate, and M is the most likely estimate. Let's see one question for practice. A project is estimated to complete within 6 at earliest to 8 weeks at max. Resources are allotted accordingly. The team estimates that if everything goes on as planned, the project will complete in 7 weeks. If the chances of project completing in 7 weeks is much more, what is the estimate of the project completion time? Note here, the question doesn't tell directly the name as pessimistic or optimistic estimate. Also note, the question is referring to PERT estimate, not the average estimate, as it says the chances of completing the project in due time, that is 7 weeks, is much more. So PERT estimation equals formula is P plus 4M plus O whole divided by 6. You can write your answers in the comment box. Also, you can check your answers through the quick exam preparation formula check sheet on page number 2. You can get that through the link in the description. Let's walk through another formula, triangular distribution. Note that beta distribution or PERT estimate and the simple averaging or triangular distribution are the two types of 3-point estimates. The formula is simple for triangular estimate, that is P plus M plus O whole divided by 3. As we have already discussed, P is the pessimistic estimate, M is the most likely estimate, and O is the optimistic estimate. One question for you. If the cost of simple project is expected to be within $50,000 at least to $250,000 at max, and most likely to be around $150,000, which of the estimate will be more? Your options are PERT estimate, triangular estimate. Another option is both will be equal, or you may choose we can predict with just these data here. Again, please write your answers in the comment box. As I always mention, you can always check the answer through the quick exam preparation formula check sheet on page number 2. You can get that through the link in the description. After the calculation of 3-point estimate, that is triangular estimate and PERT or beta estimate, it is time to look at another very important formula, that is beta activity standard deviation. The beta standard deviation simply means the possible range of the estimate that we have calculated using PERT estimate. Beta activity standard deviation is the difference between pessimistic and optimistic estimate divided by 6. Here, P is the pessimistic estimate and O is the optimistic estimate. Question for you. Calculate the beta estimate with standard deviation when the optimistic planned cost is 40K, pessimistic planned cost is 100K, and most likely planned cost is 80K. First of all, let's calculate the beta estimate for the activity. We have beta estimate equals 40 plus 4 times the most likely estimate plus pessimistic estimate divided by 6. And with all this calculation, we get the beta activity standard deviation as 10K. Hence, the beta estimate with standard deviation is 76.66 minus 10K to 76.66 plus 10K, as 10K is the standard deviation. So we have to subtract and add to the beta estimate to get the range of the estimate. Another important formula is used for the calculation of float or slack and is basically important in the critical path method. If you don't know what is critical path and how you can find out the terms such as early start, early finish, and late finish, you can check the link in the description where I have talked about using the critical path method. The critical path method is basically used in schedule management. Float or slack simply means how much the activity can be delayed without affecting the other activity or other projects. So in case of the critical path which takes the longest time to complete, the float is 0. That means we cannot delay that activity. So keep this in mind for the exam. Float for critical path equals 0. Float or slack equals late start minus early start, or late finish minus early finish. So here is a question for you. Please see the diagram. By how much can we delay the activity B, C, D, and F? The process is quite simple. You can just subtract the late start with the early start or late finish with early finish. Please write your answers in the comment box. As I always mention, you can check the answers through the quick exam preparation formula check sheet on page number 2. You can get that through the link in the description. With this, we have completed the first part of our series on project management calculations. Please click the second link on project management calculation for earned value management. Again, let me remind you that the calculations for earned value management is very important for any project management related roles and examinations. So please be sure to check that video too.